Thank you. Thank you. Hey everyone, welcome to Therapeutic Tools of the Trade, day 28 of the 29-day vlog challenge. We're nearly there, and I've got Amanda with me today. Amanda is our adolescent counsellor, but she is also a vegan counsellor. And I was really interested when Amanda first came on board. I was pretty, I totally get the school refusal stuff and why it's really important that you have someone who, Amanda is a teacher as well, so really useful to have someone who's across all aspects of school refusal and school related issues. Hey Matt. But I was really interested and really fascinated to hear about your work with vegan clients or clients who are thinking of transitioning to being vegan. And I thought it would be a really nice resource to share here in Therapeutic Tools of the Trade, because I don't think it's something that a lot of people would have thought about or considered before if they hadn't actually looked into it themselves. And you introduced me to the term dystopia.
Yes.
Which made perfect sense. As soon as I learned about it, I'm just like, well, yeah, of course that would be an issue. So I thought if you wanted to share with our Therapeutic Tools of the Trade community, and hopefully you guys find it as interesting as I did. So okay. I suppose, how did you, what made you want to work with vegan clients or clients who are thinking about going vegan?
I guess it started from my own experience. So I've been vegan, I don't know when it happened, about 5 years ago, roughly. And was vegetarian quite a long time before that, and growing up I participated in quite a lot of vegan activities unknowingly. I came from a family with a father who had a background in agricultural science, so I don't know where this came from, but I've always had an awareness of all beings and their own suffering that can come at the hands of other people, just intrinsically was in me. But that's not the case. A lot of people, it happens over time. They may have an experience, or they may watch something, they may talk to someone, and then something triggers in them. But at this stage, veganism is still a fairly new concept for a lot of people. It has been around a very long time. I mean, the Jains in India have been practicing it for thousands of years, but as a Western society, it's obviously fairly new, and Australia's the third largest growing vegan community. So there are a lot of people out there thinking a lot more about it, talking a lot more about it, and I get an awful lot of people wanting to talk to me about it, particularly as a teacher. The kids know I'm vegan and come and seek me out and wanting to know things. So in my journey with obviously connecting with a lot of vegans, I've realised just how many of us do feel different once we've made that change. And that's the term Danielle was talking about earlier, dystopia, which was actually coined by vegan psychologist Claire Mann. And I think it does perfectly reflect what a lot of us feel like as we switch. So dystopia basically is an idea that once you sort of can see the things that are going on around us from a different perspective, you suddenly feel very alone and you feel very different to everyone else. And you can get quite upset, frustrated about the fact that why do other people still participate in things that you now see as completely unethical, wrong. And it's an incredibly confronting way to live if you don't have anyone else to talk with those feelings about. So that's where my role as a vegan counsellor comes in, because I feel that I wish I'd had that. As I said, I came from a family, no vegans in sight. I knew for a very long time that's what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to do it. And eventually it was actually working in rescue. And I started to be around more vegans, and I realised, hey, I've got people I can ask for help, talk to, understand me. And that's why I think the power of vegan counselling is so important, because you sometimes just need someone who just understands you on that different, deeper level. It's not to say we're excluding others. It may be someone that's just thinking about it or has questions about it. I notice with a lot of teenagers, they're wanting to do it, but they don't have support of their family. And so that brings up a whole other round of complications, because they say the biggest trending group of vegans is sort of between the age of 19 to sort of 24-ish. So they're thinking about before that.
Yeah, and it makes sense when you think about that generation. They seem to be a lot more socially conscious and socially aware and that
Absolutely.
kind of stuff, and they're paying a lot of attention to what's going on around them, whether it's through even climate change concerns or animal welfare and that type of thing. So no, it makes a lot of sense, but it also makes a lot of sense they're coming up against parents then who are very much old school, meat and potatoes kind of people. Not that there's anything wrong with that either, but that it's just going to be really challenging for them to understand, and it's a commitment to being vegan. And it sounds like having that support and knowing that there were other people who got it was really important for you.
Absolutely.
Well.
That was huge. And I now have a vegan child, so I've been through the ringer with people full of all sorts of reasons why it's not okay, and there's an awful lot of myths that float around about veganism too that we have to constantly defend ourselves, whether they come from mainstream media or they're just old wives' tales from wherever. You've got to fight them as well, and you have to have a bit of inner strength and trust in yourself to be able to defend that. I've had some horrible situations. My partner, he was cyberbullied by mates he'd known since kinder about it, that just couldn't accept just the fact that he decided to go vegan.
That's amazing.
It's ridiculous, and he still is vegan, but if he hadn't had that inner strength to say no, and he got really, 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 really upset by that, and sometimes it's hard to understand why when you're just wanting to live a bit more compassionately, and people can get so upset by that. So being able to also voice your own opinion, sometimes you need someone to be able to practice that with. I mean, I've done so much reading to make sure I'm well versed, but when you're first vegan, it can be incredibly difficult if someone just comes up and says, okay, well, where are you getting your B12 from?
Which I always find hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, who asks that?
I know.
If I'm, sitting down eating a hamburger or something or other, nobody comes up and says, oh, where are you getting your B12? Because it's not in the hamburger. They suddenly become so concerned about your nutrition status.
Very, very concerned about and let's not, if you get into the realm of parenting, there's another whole level of parents that are vegan themselves and would like to raise a vegan child but get incredibly criticised. And I know of families that have been basically ostracised for the choice. It's incredibly difficult when you're no different to anyone else other than you've just got a different attitude in terms of the way you want to live without hurting an animal. Your footprint, yeah. And also some vegans aren't vegan primarily for animals. I mean, I'm an ethical vegan, so mine is based around, animals primarily because, let's just say when the vegan Magnum came out, I wasn't worrying about the calories in that thing. I was just eating it. But some vegans are vegan because of they're more plant-based, so they're more focused on their health. So they're you'll see the raw eaters, the no sugar vegan, those kind of guys, and we all get lumped in together. So
that's a really good point, actually. I think there is a lot of lumping that goes on.
Yes.
And like in any group of people, there's always going to be people who are kind of on the fringes, and who can be a bit extreme. And I think, unfortunately, it does mean that people then kind of go, oh, well, all vegans are like that, and all vegans want to stop me from going to work on Monday morning and all that kind of stuff. When it's a personal choice. It's a personal choice, an informed choice that you have made for yourself and for your family, and having someone else who understood that would be really, really, really important. Really important.
And I can tell you an example of that. I personally would have loved someone to talk to when there was the big vegan protest in the city that locked down the city. I was actually in the city that day with my mum. I can't remember where I was going, and she started on the whole, you vegans, you shut down the city. And I said, well, no, I'm in the car with you. I haven't shut down anything. There's these guys, and I actually support their sentiments, but that doesn't mean that you should lump me in with the ones that break into farms. You shouldn't lump me in with the ones that, live out in a mud hut and refuse to wear anything but hemp. I don't know. I'm making that up. I don't know any vegans like that. But it's all about that connection with someone. Yeah. Just like someone may, with a particular religious faith, feel they need to talk to someone that understands their faith. And not that I want to make it clear veganism has nothing to do with religion. It is very much nothing like that. But it's the same concept.
Understanding that you're not all the same. So
yes,
I think sometimes people make a lot of assumptions because they see it as a label. It's the same with mental health labels that get thrown around.
Yep.
As soon as someone sees, you've got a diagnosis of schizophrenia, this must mean you've got this and this and this and this. No.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a label, and it's a group that you belong to, but it doesn't define you by itself.
Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah. And I think that's what happens, especially in the early days. You also some vegans feel the need to conform in particular ways as well. They haven't found their own identity as a vegan, and that can be really important to be able to find groups. And as I've gone along, I've met more and more vegans. You can see the huge range of people out. They all have certain underlying qualities in the way that they think, but they're obviously very unique, just like we all are. But we do get lumped in all together, and that can lead to a lot of frustration. An awful lot of vegans have a lot of guilt about their past lives pre-vegan, and so you can get all the symptoms that you might associate with other conditions. You can get your anxiety, depression. There's evidence showing that PTSD can rear its ugly head with things that you may have seen earlier and didn't realise how much that affected you. If you'd seen evidence of animal cruelty. So, for example, I really struggle near butchers. I can't go into a butcher. I can't walk past butchers. They make me very uncomfortable. So there's those little things everywhere that can trigger us, and we need to be able to work within a completely different environment once you've sort of shifted over to that way of thinking. So it's learning to manage how you deal with it, because if you can't, you do end up on a very not okay path. So you need to be able to talk to someone and work out strategies on how to manage that. And some don't need it.
I imagine it's very similar to other types of traumatic based issues. With the recent bushfires, we know 80% of people will be totally fine. They're not going to develop PTSD. They'll be able to adjust. They might need to talk to some people in a casual, let's have a beer down the pub kind of way, but they're not going to need therapy. But 20% of people will. And I think the thing that really brought it home to me as a non-vegan was I was at a workshop, and it was a mental health workshop, so there were lots and lots of psychologists and counsellors and social workers and things, and I do have dietary requirements for medical reasons. So and they'd messed up something with the dietary requirements. I can't remember what exactly, but we basically had to, anyone with dietary requirements had to go up and say, oh yeah, no, I'm gluten-free, or I'm whatever. And I went up and did my thing, and the person behind me was vegan and came up and said, yeah, I'm vegan. And I'd just gone through, because I've got some weird dietary requirements. So I'd just gone through, I'm gluten-free, I'm dairy-free, I'm egg-free, I'm almond-free, I'm soy-free, I'm all of this kind of stuff. It's embarrassing, but I can't help it. Like, that's, she copped so much more than I did. I would have been so much more a pain in the butt in terms of catering for, because I'm difficult to cater for. She copped more stuff, and even from the other mental health clinicians, she got all the questions. No one asked me where I was getting my B12 from, even though it is actually an issue for me. They all went for her, and I'm just like,
it's become the easy target, unfortunately. A lot of that's media driven,
and it was psychologists and mental health workers, and I'm just like, well, what if that was a client coming in? What kind of preconceived notions are you going to have, even if they're coming and nothing to do with veganism, but what kind of preconceived notions are you going to have about why they're there or how they feel? It was quite an eye-opening experience.
And it is when you live it. It's I have to say, I was told with my daughter when she goes to daycare, don't tell them she's vegan, tell them she's got allergies to egg and milk. instead because you will be treated differently. And I refuse to do that. And I'm not having issues. And I am very strong in my views, and I am not ashamed to be vegan, and I will stand up for myself if I need to. But my partner, for example, if he can help it, he won't tell anyone he's vegan.
Yeah,
he is so worried, especially as a male. There's actually quite a lot of evidence that males do have a bit of a harder time with it as well. And he doesn't have a lot of vegan male friends either. So he finds it really tough to even mention that. So if he's at work and they have like a work lunch or and he's just been lucky that people he's found other vegans or vegetarians who've actually sort of taken him under their wing and look after him, and then everyone's been great. But that conversation isn't and he's got to a point he's a bit too nervous to say anything, and he's been vegan quite a long time too.
It's such a shame.
So it is something that does still exist, but it is changing, it is improving. I mean, we've got access to a lot more options with food. People are becoming a lot more aware of things like circuses and animal testing and greyhound racing and all of that kind of stuff as well. So it is changing, but there does need to be more support for people that really are struggling.
And we are very, very, very happy to have you on board being able to offer that service, and to open our eyes and our minds a little bit as well to how that might be impacting people. And no, I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And on a completely personal note as well, we also just noticed this morning. So Amanda and I met because she was the foster mum of our dog Jersey. And it just came up on our Facebook memories just before we did this that it was 5 years ago today that we first saw Jersey's picture that Amanda took and posted. And when we first started talking to them about meeting Jersey and introducing her to our family. So we are forever in debt to Amanda and her partner.
As am I to you guys for giving her the best possible home. Because Jersey was a very sad little doggy when we first met her, and Danielle and Matt have been nothing but absolutely phenomenal. So, and I'm so lucky to be able to still have Jersey in my life because of you guys.
But it's amazing. So 5 years ago, Jersey brought us together, and now we're here and doing this, and you are contributing to 12 points in such a big and important and really interesting way. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I wanted to acknowledge that. All right, that's it for me from today. So join me tomorrow for day 29 of the 29-day vlog challenge. I cannot believe it's 29 days. And that will be the very last live stream tomorrow at 4 p.m. See you all then.